With Christmas around the corner and the cost of living on the rise, money stress is reaching a peak for many young people, and it's been bad for a while. Stress and finances are unavoidable parts of life, and you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who hasn't experienced money troubles themselves. Millennials are known for many things: avocado toast, craft beer, striving for work-life balance, and valuing experiences above material things. Recently, this generation has also become known for its financial struggles in the wake of the Great Recession. So in this video, we're going to discuss why millennials are experiencing financial trouble. The video is going to be amazing, so make sure you stick to the end. Before starting the video, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to never miss out on any of our videos. In coronavirus, many Americans are dealing with substantial negative financial impacts, even though organizations, employers, and the government are working diligently to maintain some form of financial stability. The generation who may suffer the most are the millennials. Millennials are facing the second financial crisis in 2 decades, presenting monumental challenges to those who are now trying to buy a house. Hundreds of thousands of Canadians lost their jobs because of the novel coronavirus pandemic. Millennials will bear these economic scars the rest of their lives in the form of lower earnings, lower wealth, and delayed milestones such as home ownership. A recent Morning Consult survey, which polled 4,400 Americans, 1,207 of whom identified as millennials, defined in the survey as those aged 22 to 37, yielded several results that don't paint a pretty picture of millennials and their finances. Now, between roughly 24 and 40 years old, they have a much smaller financial cushion than prior generations had at their age to protect them from job losses and economic uncertainty. Millennials as a whole were more vulnerable going into this, said Ana Hernandez-Kent, a policy analyst at the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, especially for those who have lost jobs, lost their income, and then have no wealth safety net to fall back on. They could really suffer from this and be hard-pressed to recover. 66% of Americans experience financial stress several times a year. The stress millennials feel tends to be much more overwhelming. Nearly a quarter of those aged 25 to 34 experience financial stress every day, the largest representation of any group. While 23% deal with daily stress, 47% of millennials feel it at least once a month. Millennials are the most likely to experience daily financial stress, but they're also the least likely to be overwhelmed by finances as a whole. This could be caused by both their career and life stages. Those aged 25 to 34 earn an average of $44,064 a year. This is around $13,344 more than the average 20 to 24-year-old makes, which is a pretty comfortable living for younger millennials. However, most Americans are getting married, becoming parents, and buying homes between the ages of 25 and 34. These growing responsibilities can make that $44,000 feel tight, especially when compared to those 35 to 45-year-olds who make $10,000 more than millennials with similar responsibilities and debt totals. A recent report by the National Institute on Retirement Security found that 66% of millennials in the workforce have nothing put away for their retirement, citing high unemployment after the 2008 to 2009 recession, as well as stagnant wages. And according to the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, the average millennial has 34% less family wealth than this same age cohort in previous generations. What's particularly unsettling about these statistics is that few of these workers have jobs that come with a pension, meaning they have an even bigger need to build a nest egg. There's also evidence that younger Americans who do put money into 401ks are opting for a more conservative approach that offers little opportunity for long-term growth. A Bankrate survey found that 30% of adults aged 18 to 37 believe cash is the best investment choice for money they won't need for at least 10 years. Among those aged 38 and older, only 21% said cash was the best option for long-term needs. Some experts believe the Great Recession, along with the collapse of the dot-com bubble a few years before it, has a lot to do with that risk-averse approach. The 2 economic busts left the millennial generation uncertain about their own financial futures, the consulting firm Watson Wyatt noted in a report on the financial meltdown. Financial stress and anxiety are incredibly common feelings among Gen Z and millennials, says Elisa Schaefer, General Manager and Chief Experience Officer at Laurel Road. We see that cultivating mental wealth is clearly a priority for many individuals. According to the report, in the fourth quarter of 2019, they had a smaller share of total household wealth compared with older generations at similar ages. That time marked the final quarter of a record economic expansion If millennials as a group were still behind and struggling financially after so many years of overall growth, a large economic shock like the one caused by COVID-19 could upend many of their lives. Financial difficulty in the event of income loss is more likely if the family doesn't have a wealth buffer or cash on hand to withstand financial disruption. For millennial families, the lack of a financial buffer is disturbingly common, as can be seen in the figure below. About 1 in 4 families have negative net worth, meaning their debts outsize their assets, and roughly 1 in 6 say they would be completely unable to pay for a $400 emergency expense. That is, not with cash, credit cards, borrowing, or selling assets. A decent portion of millennials are delaying homeownership, many aren't saving enough, and nearly half are suffering so much from paying off student loans that they don't think the financial repercussions are worth it, according to the survey. But when taking a closer look, millennials often aren't the cause of these financial problems. They're mostly just dealing with the cards they've been dealt. The financial crisis, student loan debt, and a higher cost of living have ultimately impacted their ability to save and achieve traditional milestones. It's also been harder for millennials to tuck money away into a savings account. While 70% of millennial survey respondents have a savings account, 58% have a balance under $5,000. According to Tanza Loudenbach, a heavy debt load has helped slim these savings, while many don't carry credit card debt or owe less than $5,000. Nearly 45% of millennials have student loan debt. When asked what they would do with an extra $1,000 cash, millennials were more likely to prioritize paying off debt over saving, a difference of 5 percentage points, the survey found. For some economists, that's not particularly good news for the broader economy. J.H. Cullum Clark of Southern Methodist University, for one, argues that a lack of wealth results in fewer people starting businesses and raising the next generation of workers, both of which could restrain long-term financial growth. What's perhaps less debatable is the harm it's doing to millennials themselves. Those who haven't adequately saved and invested will find it harder to retire at a typical age, and they'll have fewer resources to draw upon when the economy hits another rough patch. In that regard, the Great Recession may just be a ticking time bomb, forgotten until the day when members of this vast generation have no choice but to face the consequences. Millennials often weren't able to accumulate the amount of wealth they hoped or expected to, especially when it comes to retirement, Dorsey said. 1/4 of millennials who expect to retire between ages 66 and 75 have no retirement savings account, according to the survey. Almost 20% of millennials don't know when they'll retire, and 9% don't expect to retire at all. Older millennials are often realizing they're gonna have to play catch-up with their finances if they want to ever be able to retire. But some of them have already decided that they likely will not ever be able to afford to retire, Dorsey said. This is particularly true for millennials born in the 1980s, who are at the greatest risk of becoming a lost generation for wealth accumulation, according to a 2018 report by the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. Unlike older generations who experienced relatively long periods of economic stability at some point in their lives, millennial Americans, in their formative years, have been shaped by 2 financial calamities: the implosion of the dot-com bubble and the financial crisis of 2008. Those events are still having an effect on how young people make important financial decisions, creating a steely skepticism about whether the markets deserve their trust. Let us know your opinion in the comment section below. This was all for today. Hope you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, stay safe, and we'll be back soon with another video. Until then, take care, guys.